Guess we can't start the meeting yet, huh?
No, actually, you can start a meeting. You just can't have any votes without the quorum.
Yeah,
And in fact, aren't they asking folks?
yeah, to call it on time.
They do want you to start it, yeah.
Oh,
I currently have a barking dog in my house, so wait a minute.
Good evening.
Hey, Chris.
How's it going?
Good. I guess we can start. Call the meeting to order, 7:01. We can start if there's any public participation.
Well, hello, it's Paul Rybicki again.
Hi, Paul.
I understand this is the ESC Land Use Committee meeting, correct?
No, this is the full ESC meeting.
A full ESC meeting. On the agenda, though, there was 2 items relevant to the vote, correct?
Yeah, there's one item regarding the vote that we're going to be voting on.
Beautiful. All right, I just wanted to add my latest update regarding the vote from my perspective. I can make it brief. I've addressed the ESC multiple times in every subcommittee possible. So what I wanted to first state is that further digging in to the situation at the VOC, the letter that came from the Mass Assistant Secretary of DEP that stated that MEPA review was not going to be required, stated in part the following. It said, based on the foregoing, I find that MEPA review is not required for the project as currently proposed because while it does require agency action, it does not meet or exceed any review threshold. Okay. Further, in the letter, it says, if note that the project does not involve any significant earthwork or any significant changes in grading. So that's so inaccurate and so highly relevant that they got it wrong at the state DEP that I just wanted you guys to be aware of that. I will send the email to document my statements that the letter from the Mass DEP saying that full MEPA review wasn't going to be needed was based on inaccurate information stating from the assistant director, who is now the same person, but is now the director, I believe. So Tori Kim is who I'm referencing. So Tori Kim did say that, quote, does not involve significant earthwork or change into grading. So incorrect because of the massive land alteration, blasting, grading, filling, stockpiling, and grubbing going on with mass tree clearing to boot. So the next thing that I wanted to interject is at the Conservation Committee the other day, when they were talking about it, the project proponents, they were talking essentially all of the stormwater is like a zero recharge because they're blowing the hole in the hillside. They're going to have culverts, pipes, and sump pumps to get the water out of that hillside. And it's going to be zero recharge, meaning almost nothing going into the groundwater table. So it's going to come out, they'll treat it for solids, and the Burger King cups and all that stuff's going to fall out. But we're going to be putting massive amount of polluted water right into a sensitive ecosystem downstream. And my last comment, and I want to thank you for your time, is that I wanted to inform you that I'm one of 10 petitioners, and we did petition the state. The director is now Tori Kim. We filed a fail-safe petition under Section 301 CMR 1104, asking for a full review based on the extent of the environmental damage and some of the other factors. The case is 26 pages long. I will forward it to the ESC. But there is a window that's open now through the 27th of February where you can log into the portal and put in your comments, positive or negative. I would like to share that portal information and have the team look at and consider putting some heart and soul comments into the petition that we put in. That window closes on February 27th. Thank you so much.
Okay, Sean, did you want to comment?
I just wanted to clarify, have we called to order already? I wasn't sure if we
Yeah.
had quorum or not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I just called to order a few minutes ago and Paul was giving his public
Okay.
participation.
all right, great. That's what I assumed. I just wasn't clear to me.
Thanks, Paul. Please
Thank you
send,
for your time. I appreciate
send
it.
your-
Thank you very much.
Yeah, please send that information along.
Will do.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, we started before majority of people got on. But we were supposed to start on time, so that's what I was told.
Melissa, I mean, we do need a quorum though. I don't recall what that quorum number is, right? Or we don't need a quorum.
To vote, we do,
Okay, all right.
not to start the meeting.
Thanks for, all right.
Yes, I was informed that too by Robin.
Great.
All right, let me share the agenda.
Oh, excuse me, Melissa, was there any other public comment?
I don't see anybody else.
Okay, I didn't know.
All right, here is the agenda. The next item is approval of minutes from January. All right, did everybody get a chance to review the minutes? Go around and do the approval. Robin?
Sorry, I received comments, I sent out a revised one. So I motion for the approval of the revised meeting minutes.
Second,
Sorry, who said?
that was Tiana.
Okay, Robin,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Tiana,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes.
Myra,
I missed the meeting, so I know I don't have to, but I will abstain.
Eileen,
I missed the last meeting as well, so stay.
okay. So we can't have the students vote, right? Because they're non-voting members, so motion passed. Next item is to discuss a motion that Sean has put together regarding the environmental impacts of the boat. If you want, I can make you co-host. You could share it.
that would be great. Thank you. All right, are people able to see that? Okay. So, I did want to make a motion here that we agree to send a letter of concern to the superintendent of the Northeast Metropolitan Regional Vocational School, the Wakefield Town Manager, as well as the Wakefield Conservation Commission. And this is around the concerns that have been raised, including during public participation today, and at previous ESC meetings, as well as the land use subcommittee and some other subcommittee meetings. And of course, been all over the press, been a lot of conversation around these things. Just to voice concerns from the ESC, I did take into consideration in drafting this some of the discussion we had at the last ESC meeting, that some concerns by some of our members about our role should not be to second guess approval processes by other boards, etc. But at the same time, I thought we needed to be very clear that, you know, there's serious concerns that have been raised and that we want to make sure that environmental issues are front and center. I also feel that some of the materials brought together by a lot of the concerned citizens who have been visiting so many meetings on this, I felt it was not necessary. Others might disagree, but my personal starting point was it wasn't necessary for us to try to do an exhaustive review, and that a scientific review of that isn't something we should be purporting to have within our charge anyway. So that's just framing for what I put here. That said, you know, I'm hoping that we can have a formal motion and vote on this. So I guess if
Can we read it first?
Yes, absolutely. So we would
That'd be
normally,
great.
yeah, read it, edit
Can you
this,
scroll-
and then we would, and
Can
then
you
I'll
scroll down
remove it.
so that we
Yeah,
can
and then
see
I'll-
the full thing?
Absolutely. I just, what I was saying, just I was gonna, as a matter, since I figured we want to read and edit this, that I'll make a formal motion after we've had the chance to edit this, and if somebody chooses to second it, then I think that's the right process just for us to vote, right? So, so here's the whole thing. Do you want me to read that out loud, Melissa? Do you think that's useful, or people want to read it on their own?
I think people can read it on their own.
Okay.
Sean, you're just missing a space between decision making and the, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I think we need to fill in that date for the letter, right?
My own record, the version I had in my files, somebody, whoever had written that had a dynamic date tag installed. So when I opened it, I saw the current date. So yes, we would need to fill that in if somebody has that here. I think we could also pass it with the with the understanding that that date will be corrected if we don't have access to that. But I couldn't find the correct date.
Who sent it?
It was signed at the time by Myra and Dan on behalf of the committee, but I'm not sure who transmitted.
Dan sent it. I mean, I can go back and look. I might have it on my computer as a draft, but I think it eventually went from Dan's account, but potentially with a copy. I wasn't so good about the ESC email address, so I think it went from his personal account.
So, I mean, the heart of this, I mean, you all just read it for yours, but what we're asking for is that Concom and anyone with oversight go back and look at their past decisions, and that environmental impacts be prioritized. So, and we can discuss whether that's too strong or too weak of an ask. Again, I was trying to reflect some of the concerns. And just to be honest, I was trying to come up with something that I thought might be something we could do unanimously. I do think that in some ways a unanimous statement, even with one less punch to it, is maybe stronger than a split vote. So that's how I was framing this, but that may not have been correct.
I would make a suggestion in that paragraph right there where we also note that several of the community members who have contacted us expressed concerns about the process in which the deliberation and decision-making to date has followed.
Mhm.
I don't think that we're a body that, can really action or take that in consideration in terms of, where the Environmental Sustainability Committee, we don't even have any sort of purview over, process of deliberation and decision-making.
Mhm.
for any other entity or body. I think that's potentially outside of our scope.
Yeah, we could either delete that line, or we could just be explicit about what you just said. Or maybe beyond our expertise, beyond our purview.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, certainly citizens coming to us with concerns around environmental impact and that certainly, but the deliberation and decision-making process, I personally don't feel comfortable with that in this.
So your preference would be?
I would say
delete the
remove it, but yeah, but that's, my opinion.
All right,
We'll discuss as a board, maybe just highlight that before deleting it, if we want to discuss that as a body.
Well, we could just say concern about the process, period, and just take out the last part.
And that's not us expressing concern about the process. That's just stating that we've received commentary to that effect, right?
Yes,
Just
yes.
a statement of.
Yeah.
Fact.
I have a different suggestion. I mean, that sounds fine to me. I think we could go a little bit stronger on the next paragraph. Because we do have the municipal vulnerability sort of plan, which asks the town really to keep, sort of commits the town to keeping environmental considerations within the decision-making framework. And so I agree, we're not in a place to dictate certainly Concom, but I do think that it's worth saying, like, we have a town have made this commitment to the state and to, the people who funded us for that, and we've sort of committed to it, and we need to make sure that we follow it in a big project like this. And so I think some of the considerations that we that are listed here are definitely fall in there, and then we need to, I mean, basically what we committed to is that we'll take the sort of least environmentally, we'll take the most environmentally friendly approach when possible, and that we have a standard for that defined.
So we could add, that could, I mean, we could be very detailed in that, if somebody has that language accessible about here's exactly, or we could just add to the end of this sentence, in accordance with our commitments to do so, or in accordance with the town's commitments.
Yeah.
So on the town's website of description of the committee, the end says, saying this committee will work with the town administrator, town departments, boards and commissions to assist and advise on ways to encourage balanced and responsible environmental stewardship. So that's our role in it.
Well, that's
So I
our
guess
that's our
that's us.
charge,
Yeah.
right? But I think Myra's point was that the town has made a commitment.
Right, but it's us. We feel that our stewardship is to ask them to point out that.
Yeah. I mean, I think partly what we're asked, I mean, this is partly to the superintendent, right? And that has not been the most transparent, easy process in the past. So I do think, sort of to the extent that we're also writing to our town officials to sort of think about what leverage they might have. I think our town has made a commitment, and Robin, like, under that umbrella, you think of, I just come back to the municipal vulnerability plan, and the committee sort of has become a little bit of the steward of that, even if we haven't been keeping it at the forefront either. So I think that's why I go there, because it's, it is a document that the town developed and endorsed.
I can
I
share.
do think that should be specifically called out, and asking it to be like, put the municipal vulnerability study should be called out in this, and in the lens or framework of looking at this project through that, because that's what that's essentially what that document was designed to do.
would it be helpful for me to share that framework?
I have a kind of a question on so the letter is addressed to the superintendent of the school who does not work for the town, the town administrator, and the I think you addressed Concom, right? Conservation Commission.
Yes.
So they kind of are three different things, and so I guess what jumps out to me at this last paragraph says revisit their oversight. Concom's not done, and so it doesn't feel like it's a little different than, say, our town administrator, who's actually a member of the committee that's a part of the process. And I don't know if writing the same words to those three different entities is correct. I'm kind of just thought what people's thoughts on.
No. But I agree. So 2 points. I think the second point first. Here we're asking, the letter says that those agencies and committees within the town charge do this. So I think it's already explicit. We're not asking the superintendent of the school to do that. But the reason why the letter was addressed to the superintendent and the town supervisor and then the members of Concom is that the previous letter we wrote last year, which was like, yay, so glad you're doing this. Let's be energy efficient in the building plans, was addressed to the superintendent and to the town supervisor, right? So I was adding Concom, but it seemed inappropriate to drop somebody off, so that's, but again, we can change that. We can address this to the town supervisor and to Concom and just CC the superintendent, but I was paralleling that. Because the other point, which I actually thought when I was writing was the more peevish point here, was that, we asked to be included, we offered our assistance, and so, that this part here is very much addressed to.
No, I guess I was questioning the Concom because they're still actively working on it. And so it feels different to me than the other individuals.
Absolutely. I might be not recalling this correctly. I did feel that there was a request to us by by the town's representative there that we should share this with Concom as well. So
well, I think
so I was trying to, and it could be a separate letter.
I was gonna say the CC usage, it could be shared with, but not addressed to them has a different message.
Well, and we're specifically asking that those agencies and committees that approve and oversee construction projects, which is not just Concom, it's others as well. And does the town administrator tell them to do we need to be sending this to those agencies and committees? Or is our ask going to the right people if these are not the people who are the agencies that do the approving and overseeing? So I don't know if my question makes sense.
Could you add the school building committee for the Vogue, right? They're the ones who really own it. The Vogue school building.
They're on there, the first CC.
Can I ask why Gas and Light is on there since they're not building the school?
We can easily delete that. They were CC'd on the previous letter because it had a focus on energy efficiency. And I think it was
okay. Yeah, well,
I'm
that
not
was
sure
I
if
mean,
that was necessary.
That letter was because Gas and Light was, at the time, that letter was to ask them to convert from a fossil fuel based heating, HVAC, which they've done. As long as the energy park moves forward.
Right. So that I can easily remove. And
wait,
so
could I throw something in though? Is that the energy cannot be segmented because of the Mass School Building Administration doesn't allow segmentation of the project. So the tree cutting that they're doing, the acreage they own, that's all kind of counts towards the impervious surface and the project as if it was one.
Hey, Paul, sorry, public participation is over.
Sorry, I can keep shy. I'll be quiet.
I'm happy to keep the CC in or remove it. I'm curious if how others feel. I mean, if it's irrelevant to send it to WMGLD, we can remove it. Also want to come back to that point about whether Concom is a CC or a recipient of the letter. And then I guess the third point is what other committees, commissions should be included.
I would say gas and light no longer is in the same. Its purpose before made sense. This makes less sense to
Okay.
include them. So
It was cut and paste.
yeah.
And you know. So
Can you go back to the first paragraph? I want to.
this language was also just mirroring the language in the previous letter to the school, which was just kind of reminding. And again, I'm very open to any, but that was the language that we used previously. And so it seemed appropriate to me to use that as the refresher to anyone who didn't know who we were.
In the residents express concerns. I guess, no, never mind. Just thinking out loud. Okay.
Can I just come back to this point then? Were there, what was it, do we have any consensus on whether Concom is a recipient or a CC on this?
I think they should be a recipient because they're involved in the decision-making of this project, right?
Well, but so is zoning and others.
So we should add everybody then.
I think we should add multiple committees, and whether it's all to the CC, all to the top line, or some split of the two. I mean, Concom's in the hot seat for a lot right now, but you know, and partially this was reflecting my ignorance of what are the next steps of the process that have to happen and what are the things that can be revisited, and you know, but I thought, you know, and my recollection again that there were some concerns about previous decision by Concom already. So that if it was operating in less than full information, if that, you know, parts of, you know, so that was why I thought they were top line. But again, hoping for a consensus.
Yeah,
document.
I mean, I agree. I think they should be, I think a CC is, you know, I don't know, a lot of people have different feelings about it. I think we should address it to the boards. I mean, part of what I want to do is to say, please take the environment into consideration when you're making these decisions and making sure that it's the right balance of, you know, for our overall community. So I think we should add zoning to the to list, the dear list, and say we just want to, you know, bring these concerns forward, and you know, and also sort of ask that these you know these are real issues, and they should be just thought of in a holistic way.
All right. So in addition to Conservation Commission, then, so I mean, the Historical Commission, we didn't talk about it, but others have raised issues that would be under their jurisdiction, perhaps potentially. That's part of the petition.
And it's the zoning board of appeals. I don't know about the Historical Commission, but the zoning board of appeals, I think.
And then also potentially the Permanent Building Committee or
I don't think it's not. Permanent Building Committee is within Wakefield, and we don't have our town doesn't have jurisdiction over the building.
All right, I didn't know if there was. It's also town land, so I didn't know if there was any town land that would be involved in any.
It's not town land.
No part of it. Okay, that's.
I mean, I think it may the argument before Conservation Commission is that it impacts town land. But
Well,
I mean, the other question is whether you want to put the vote building committee. But
they're a CC on this.
That's fine.
There's a Voc school committee too. I don't want to add them.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a little bit beyond the school committee's time. I don't know, at this point in the process where they're already gone through the vote, right? I don't know what the school committee, like on the high school, like our school committee has done their thing. And now it's beyond that phase is my understanding.
Okay,
It'd be a
I don't
CC
know.
to them about it would be an informational CC about, hey, people are not happy. And that might be relevant. So even if it's,
Yeah.
So again, like, I mean, I don't think it's any less relevant to them than it is to,
Yeah.
the state representatives or senators. So in that sense.
Sean,
Honestly, I think you should send it.
Apologies, I don't know what's going on with my Zoom. Oh, you might have done it already. To the letter being addressed, I think it should also be addressed to the Voc building committee and the Voc board, and not CC'd to them. They're the ones that ultimately, are part of the decision-making process for that, versus, and I would say CCing Mr. Mayo, because this letter is being written, in my mind, right, is being written to the folks that, have direct control over the project. And I would say that is, the superintendent, the school committee, and the building committee.
And Steve Mayo's on that committee and he's accountable to us.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I mean, that's fine, but I would suggest adding those as it being addressed to versus CC.
Okay.
And maybe CCing the Conservation Commission.
Spelling error on the superintendent's name.
there's an I at the end. It's Debari.
Okay, that's unfortunate because that was pasted from the previous letter, which
No.
might be.
It's fine. I have I
Okay.
found the PDF. Because it turns out.
So it's down here. It must have been corrected in the, so sorry, Eric, could be.
So to answer the previous question, I'm the one who sent it out to everyone.
All right.
Nice.
The letter.
I was only looking at drafts, the final.
All right, so the letter was dated February 14th. Just for some historical information, the superintendent did respond, acknowledging receiving it. And in it, he promised, and I don't think it needs to be in the letter, but just for folks to know, he was promised in the near future, we will be putting together a subcommittee of our building committee to address environmental and sustainability issues / options related to our project. I look forward to working closely with your committee on topics you presented and others.
Oh, so we should mention that. Was that ever created?
If it was, it's unknown to me how we were invited.
I doubt it was created.
So that response offered to do what again?
His response was to include us in discussions related to sustainability and environmental issues.
And sustainability, was that his language?
The quote is, quote, to address environmental and sustainability issues / options related to our project.
Okay, can you say that one more time slowly? I'm gonna put in quotes and get part of it verbatim so that it's clear that we're quoting from.
To address environmental and sustainability issues / options related to our project. So that was the superintendent's response. And Melissa, just for public records, I'm going to forward this email to the ESC so it's in the books, in case it wasn't already.
I would, Sean, I would, just so it's, reference that letter and, put it as an attachment,
Okay,
just, as appendix or attachment or however you want to
Or-
word that, but it's enclosed so that they don't have to go find the letter, right? It's
Yeah.
all right there.
what is the date of that letter response back?
Oh, his email response? Oh, he responded on February 28th, 2022.
All right. So we should attach that? Did the others agree with that? Sorry, just trying to. All right, so then now what we have after, so okay, now my peevish lines got in more peevish, but a lot more explicit, I guess. After initial acknowledgement via email from Superintendent Tabari, offering to include us in discussions to address environmental and sustainability issues / options related to our project, we have not been contacted, but we have not since been. Is that correct? Is that what people are inclined to say? Okay. Sorry, don't want to be perseverative, but I just want to come back to our list of addressees on this. Are there any other committees or commissions in the town? I mean, do we want to include town council?
I think
And are
that they are a couple degrees of separation.
I would say they're a CC,
Yeah.
Okay,
at least.
So it-
And just to, I'm not clear on the process, but zoning board of appeals is one of the approving, or this did already go through them and they, or it
It
did
is,
not.
it is not done.
Oh, okay. But they are, it is within their purview to assess it.
From an article that appeared in the item this week, it appears that it may go through some zoning. There was some discussion on a law that I've only heard kind of secondarily, so I didn't know too much, but they're in the discussion whether they actually have approval is actually being in the part of the review process. The Dodge law, I think they said, may change things, but not to say they shouldn't know what's going on. Another CC we didn't before, but maybe I'm hesitant to suggest it for, but the owner's project manager would advise, their consultants to the building committee. And they help, as professionals, they're the ones that know the steps of regulatory to help the school, saying, don't do this. So I don't know if we want to include them or just see if it gets to them to help,
So that is, sorry, give me the proper name of that.
I believe this is, it's PMA. Consultants. I don't know. I mean, they're,
PMA Consultants
again, they're
LLC?
paid by this committee. We don't have a relationship with them. So it is different than elected officials, but.
How do others feel about ceasing the school's consultant on that?
I mean, I think it's fine to make them aware of our concerns. Because who knows if the people that we were going to send it to would make them aware or not.
Is so they seem to be a nationwide company. Is it the Braintree office that would be consulting to this school?
They are likely out of the Braintree office. I can't remember which, I don't think they have another Massachusetts office. Some of the
Oh.
companies, some other one, but
Yeah,
yeah.
so the Boston office is in Braintree, so. Um,
Just to go back to one of the earlier questions raised, and not to throw a wrench in this process, but is it that we want to say something different to the superintendent director than we do to the other agencies who are like currently involved in the process? Because it
I think,
sounds, yeah.
I think so. I think we have separated that here, but we might want to add more. So to the town, to the superintendent, we mostly said that we have not been included in this, but we're sharing these concerns. I think to the town committees, we are saying specifically that we're asking them to prioritize, we're asking them to act to mitigate the environmental impacts to every extent possible, and asking the school boards to prioritize reduction of environmental impact. So I do think we've have separate asks, but
Yeah.
if we want to separate that out by paragraph or
No, yeah,
add to that,
Sean, I was just kind of like starting to wonder whether this should be sort of like different letters or two or more separate letters, but I think as you said, it is sort of compartmentalized there, and we're probably good with one.
I'm open. It's just that any deliberation we have on the content of the letter needs to happen at a meeting.
Yeah.
Which is why I was thinking of one letter, but I mean, that was just my starting point, but we can separate this out. We just need to all then,
I think we should mention something about the municipal vulnerability framework.
I did
so we can-
add,
Okay.
so I'm not sure. Yes, that was something else. So I did add,
Oh, okay.
so I'm not sure if I have it. So I did in the laziest way possible. So this can be expanded in that ask to the town committees to mitigate environmental impacts to every extent possible. I said in accordance with the town's commitments to do so under the municipal vulnerability preparedness plan is the name I found for it online, but if there's a more appropriate name or if there are other.
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
Should we link to it though, or attach it similar to attaching the prior correspondence?
Yep,
All
Or
right.
footnote or something?
I have the PDF I can send.
So we can, do you want to attach it or link?
I think it's all one letter. I mean, I feel like the superintendent has not been the most responsive. And so he needs to be in the 2-line, but I feel like mostly it said like the potential leverages within the town. I mean, I do feel like it's worth communicating outside of this letter, but sort of sharing outside with the other towns that might have similar concerns. I mean, Melrose, for example, I believe is a contributing community, and I know they have an environmental leader who has been concerned about this for some time. I think there are some other communities around us, and so I think if we wanted to build a bigger community or sort of share some of these ideas, we could with other towns. But I think we just sort of send a letter to everyone to say these are this is the concerns that, or the voices that we're amplifying, and also the structure that we're using, and it's for transparency if nothing else to send it to the superintendent, but it's mostly to our community.
All right. So did we want to, I just want to make sure I'm getting, did we want to say attach the preparedness plan, or does somebody have a
So I have the resilience evaluation framework from the MVP. So I don't know if we want to say something like, the resilience evaluation or the resilience framework according to the MVP plan or something like that.
Seems like we could add a footnote with the link to it rather than attach the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the town website.
So is this Wakefield.ma.us resilient, that whole section is,
The resilience evaluation framework is one of the links on the sidebar. It just opens up a PDF.
okay. Oh, so it is resilience evaluation framework.
Yep.
Yeah.
All righty.
And I guess it's good to know that we did mention it last time, so this isn't the first time we've said something to them about it, so it is reinforcing our message a year ago.
All righty.
And I know that we've picked apart your work, Sean, but generally I think it looks really great, and thank you for pulling
No,
it.
no, I don't see it as picked apart as all. It was intended as a draft and
Yeah, I think this is really good.
all right. So do folks want to take one last look at this so that we can move second and move to a vote? See if
I mean, I think what we're voting on is content. I mean, I feel comfortable if like we approve this and that you feel like it needs to be wordsmithed or, any of those sort of cleaned it up. I think that's generally within the context of like, we approve it. And then there might be some small changes that are sort of important to make it sound good, but inconsequential in terms of the message.
The motion itself at the top there references the original set of two people we would send it to. So if we've expanded that, I'm going to expand that there.
Well, do we need to list them up there? I guess.
I would just say the motion to send the letter as, reviewed here can make the motion a lot shorter.
I would take of concern kind of, it's weak, and so the letter speaks to its comments.
Yeah, just say the following letter regarding the Northeast Metro Tech building project or something like that.
all right, that fine. Okay. All right, and then just final, just after we do that, will somebody provide me with the letterhead, and should I transmit this? Melissa, do you want to transmit this as chair? Is there just a?
So, Sean, I just sent you, I don't have the original Word file. I sent you the PDF version so you can see how he formatted it. He took the meeting minutes Word file and added, title block with people's names. I have some memory of editing that, but I can't seem to find a Word version of it. So
I think I have a Word version of it for some reason.
And then it came, I believe, if I remember correctly, I sent it because maybe Myra wasn't available, and as secretary, it seemed within that title, but it can come from anyone.
Well, I can send it from the ESC email.
That would be better.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to put this on letterhead. We need to update the letterhead. Does somebody have a complete and accurate list of the membership? Is that on the website?
It's on the meeting minutes. So yes, I have it, but you can pull it off of that as well. I'll just email it to you.
Okay.
That'll be easier.
All righty. So anything else on this before we move to and then depending on how this vote goes, I will try to put together a complete and transmittable version of this with appropriate inside addresses and then send it to Melissa to transmit from the ESC email, right?
Yeah, you're gonna get all the email addresses, did you say?
I was going to put the inside addresses in the letter. I'm not sure about the email addresses. I had actually thought that we'd be mailing this, so.
Oh, okay.
We
But-
emailed it last time. I don't know if
Okay.
we want to do it differently to,
Yeah, so if we can, if, does anybody here?
I mean, as someone who sent it, I had them all at the
Oh,
time.
okay, yeah, so, so,
But although we've added zoning board of appeals and maybe some
Oh.
others, right?
They're all online. It was actually
Okay.
surprisingly easy. I mean, I could, well, you know, most of what I can't find, unfortunately, is the original version of the email. Google seems to have taken it out of my access. So I don't have the email list itself, but recreating it.
Okay, I think we can figure that out.
all right. I'd like to move that we agree to send the following letter regarding construction of a new Northeast Metro Tech school, as drafted here.
I second. That was Myra.
All right, let's vote. Robin,
Yes.
Chris,
Aye.
Tiana,
Yes,
Sean,
Yes,
Tom,
Yes,
Anne,
Yes.
Myra,
Yes,
Eileen.
Yes.
I'm a yes. It's unanimous. Thanks, Sean.
Sean,
Yeah,
great
thank you.
work.
all right. Sure thing. Thank you all.
All right. So we have another thing to vote on. Voting like crazy tonight. So the next item is on the Energy Park support statement that Tom has created. I will make you a co-host.
Tom, can you zoom in a little bit with the black and white? It's a little harder to read. Thank you.
and I'm talking on mute. Is that good for everyone? It's probably because the monitor is big too. Is that coming across good?
Yep.
All right. I'll let everyone read.
So we did a similar statement with the high school, but this is specifically on the energy park.
I will also note, as of right now, the footnote number 1 for the project, we actually don't have at the moment a like landing page for all of the energy park, collateral information, so on and so forth. I have requested that. If that gets done before, we can swap that out versus just the kind of video with the explanation at the moment. Any feedback, commentary, changes?
Can you remind us who we're sending this to and sort of what step in the process currently needs our support?
At the moment, I don't know that we, directly send it, and we, just publish it out there. Right now, the process, we still are, the Conservation Commission has not taken a vote. We could send that there. We are at the state level, currently in the Office of Environmental Affairs. We could, have this letter passed on either directly from us or send this to the gas and light manager and the board and have them amend it to the package that's at the state level at the moment.
Got it. Thank you.
But I would at minimum, I'd say we publish this and post it on our webpage for those that need to consume it too.
Yeah, so it'd be the same thing as what we just did with the high school. Statement.
Correct.
So I guess what is the timing for the Concom and the energy?
So we're in review at the State Office of Environmental Affairs. The Conservation Commission has deferred voting every time since we've asked to have a vote. I don't know when they're I think they meet every 2 weeks.
Their vote or approval is not really, it's not going to stop the process at the state level, right?
Correct. In my understanding, yes. Yeah, we have had the conversations with the State Office of Environmental Affairs. They're actually very excited about the project. They are also have had very positive feedback to it, and just talking about this project, even though we haven't even broken ground or anything, there are 2 other towns that are now replicating this, taking this. So it's out there, it's in the forefront, definitely leading, and is being replicated and emulated by others because it is such a unique and beneficial project. I think it's at Middleton. Someone is building a complex of public safety buildings, and they're going to position an energy park in the middle of those to serve that, and very similar, and another town is also, they have 2 school buildings very close together on a campus, and they'll be emulating this as well.
That's great. All right, anybody have any edits for this? Comments?
So I feel like I'm a broken record, but I again, I think we could reference some of the framework that the town has already set as a priority, and I'm thinking about greenhouse gas reduction, which I think is maybe listed. I don't know. I feel like we could be more specific to say this aligns in our understanding. This aligns with where the town has already said they want to go. including through the Green Communities Act, as well as, again, the climate resilience framework. It feels like it is very well aligned, and so,
Myra, where would you want to put that, and how would you want to word that?
I feel like we
You
would
want to say
we could put it
carbon
at the
and
end.
greenhouse gas?
No, I think we could put, I think we could put it at the end, and we say this, this project aligns with established town priorities, including, as a green community, greenhouse gas reduction and the principles in our vulnerability plan, or something like that. I don't,
With this,
I don't feel like the town has really established that greenhouse gas goal, though.
well,
I think-
they had to, and signing up as a green community.
correct. Yeah, we as a, well, I mean, it's not
But the green
greenhouse
community
gas,
was
it's
just for-
energy
It
reduction.
Yeah,
Which, part and parcel energy reduction does, reduce greenhouse gas. Myra's right. We, as part of now being green communities, the baselining that was done, the community has 5 years to reduce 20% of its energy consumption, which, the 2 schools with the energy park get us close to that. Because we've already done a lot of the lower hanging fruits that other communities do when they become a green community. Do you established, what is it, the municipal vulnerability?
Yeah, so I mean, whether or not, again, like the municipal vulnerability plan, it's not being followed, but it does have a whole section on greenhouse gas reduction.
Yeah, lines with the stuff. With the,
So I would say that with,
the towns.
with the town's aligns with the town's goals as outlined, through the municipal vulnerability plan, the green communities program.
well, we could say the same thing we did in the other one, the resiliency framework within the municipal vulnerability. I can't even say it.
The plan or vulnerability study? I forget what.
It's a plan. It's a municipal vulnerability preparedness plan. I mean, I don't know if other people feel this way. I just feel like it gives us like a little bit of an extra I don't know what the right word is. Oomph.
It's like we didn't just think of it this week.
Yeah. The town's made these commitments. And then also I don't know what you think about green communities, Tom, there too, but our sort of green,
Yeah, outline it. Oh, and yeah, I guess, and
I would say, and yeah, the goals outlined in the green communities.
what is the green communities framework?
I don't know, even our proposal or our application, I feel like.
I mean, it's, yeah, the goals within, the green communities.
Designation. Yeah, so green communities is a designation.
Yeah, just
Wait,
add,
do you have that? Do you want me to put the vulnerability preparedness plan as a
link, yeah.
yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where is my superscript? Can someone shoot me over that link?
You want the green communities page? Is that-
No, the vulnerability. I forget.
Oh. So
Yeah, I don't like.
it's actually, well, I mean, so it comes from Envision, which is wakefield.ma.us/resilient, has
See if I can
embedded in
pull
it.
that real quick.
It's a really long link for the actual file. I don't know how to shorten it for you.
Is there a letter? Did you go right to the Wakefield Mass Resilient?
Yeah, so if you go to wakefieldsmass.com resilience, on the
The-
left-hand side under quick links, there's the MVP Resilient Evaluation Framework, which is our big PDF.
Yep. I wonder if I should call this just.
Can you just add a "the" in front of municipal?
There.
Yeah, you don't have to capitalize it, but. Thanks.
Actually, I think town is capital here. Anything else?
I think it's good.
Melissa, I don't know. I don't know if you saw Paul has his hand up. I didn't know if you wanted to allow or
Yeah.
not.
Public participation is over, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Then I guess I'll make the motion to vote on this letter of support for the Wakefield Gas and Light Energy Park microgrid project as written here.
Second,
All right, vote. Robin,
You always give me as I'm typing second. Yes.
well, you're in the left corner of my screen, so I'm going that way. Chris,
Aye.
Tiana,
yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Myra,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Another unanimous vote. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
All right, we are done voting.
Melissa, I'll send that over to you.
Thank you.
Melissa, can I request now I don't remember the title, but a change in order?
Okay,
So I have a hard stop close to 9, and while I don't anticipate us going that long, just in case, could I move building efficiency on the subcommittee list up?
yes. You want to go first?
If I could, just while it's fresh
Yeah.
and I
Yep.
won't be thinking about it. So I actually nothing to talk about in terms of the high school and the vote. I think we covered it. I did want to spend a minute telling people a little bit about the new stretch code. And so, and could I actually show my screen? I took a big
Yep.
slideshow and I cut it down to a few key things. I'm still learning a lot about it. So I don't have all the info yet, but I just wanted to give some high level info. So, and Tom, there's another one coming up in March, and another detailed one. I think I know how to get you in next time if you want to participate and to get the details. So I'll keep you up to
Yeah,
date
that
on
would be great. I was unfortunate, wasn't able to make that other one, but.
So Department of Energy Resources is working with the Boston Society of Architects and engineers, I'm not sure under which organization, to say, okay, everyone's excited we have a stretch code, but what we talked about and what was actually written and what's being released as guidance, there's some nuances that are proving to be very important. So we're learning to see how it's all going to play out. So they're offering some serious trainings for us to know what we got. So I attended the first one, which is fundamentals, and that's kind of the high level stuff I want to share, because as a green community, we are heavily impacted in a good way. So I was disappointed their slide on what communities are green did not include us. It did say November, and of course we joined in December. So it had, so there's about 50 communities that will use the state's base energy code. Be mindful that where it says 10th edition of the International Energy Code Council's book is actually not in effect by yet. We haven't, the state has not promulgated it yet, but they promise again that they'll be by September, or sorry, by July. So at the moment, the base energy code is actually goes back to 2018's version. But as a green community, we're actually in the second bucket because the stretch energy code applies to us. As you'll note that residential, it has an entire year for folks to learn it, know how to use it, and then it has to be used. But the commercial code goes into effect in July. When we have current code and we have proposed or when promulgated new code and they overlap, you can actually request permits under the new code because it's out. Most people aren't prepared to do that, but it is, this overlap period is available to folks. There are two communities. And
Robin,
maybe,
can I ask though, because it's residential says January of 2023, that would say
oh, it should be 24. I believe the next slide says 24. So yeah, they have till 24 is what I thought they. I'll double check on that, Myra, because they spoke as if they had more time.
I'm wondering if that's the promulgation of it. And
No, well,
okay, because I know in
well,
the framework they had timers within the year.
so Secretary of State Galvin, when he a number of years ago didn't love the fact that we had these overlapping, so he said you can vote on it, but doesn't actually go into effect until 6 months from now. And then other times we seem to have things that went into effect the minute they signed it. So that may be the confusion, or it's just me not understanding it. But I will get that double check. I was going to just jump into this specialized net zero code. Brookline and Watertown, within days of the start of the new year, jumped in blindly, my word, not theirs, into this new specialized code. And I think I say blindly because everything is so different and they were all excited about it. They didn't know enough to know if everyone's ready for it yet. So they're quickly learning as it applies kind of what happens. The 6 to 11 months is because the thought is if you don't necessarily have a town meeting immediately. And so, those kind of rules only come in when you have town meetings. So, but watch out for what happens in Brookline and Watertown and we can learn from them. But they jumped right in. So this also has the date. Okay, I'm going to follow up. So just a reminder, just if people don't know how the building code is, that we have residential and commercial, but residential doesn't necessarily mean only where you live. Multifamily housing, apartments, large condos are actually commercial code rules. And so they created this great tree to understand if you're based on what kind of building you are, what's your size, both number of stories, and then later how many square feet. As you see on the bottom of this chart, the rules are all different based on how you follow through the tree. And I've not seen this done before to help us understand where things kick in, but it's going to be super valuable because the nuance of the requirements are changing based on which of these, final buckets you are. But as you'll see, everything matters. And so, we start with what kind of building you are, what community in, so which bucket you're in terms of which code, and then which of these codes makes a big difference of how you comply with it. And it's the compliance part that is most requiring folks to get some training on it, and it's the one I know least about. There is a prescriptive code and you follow it through. Easier said than done. There's something called a TEDI pathway. It's the TEDI pathway that people are have concerns that it's not achievable based on the way the numbers are and how construction is built. But they're vetting it. The engineers are crunching numbers to figure out how you could build a TEDI method. There's a relative performance and it applies to certain kinds of buildings. Passive house, I think I've mentioned it to folks. Passive house came from Germany. It's a institution of an organization similar to like USGBC for green, but they have standards and criteria on what a building tightness. Typically, it gets you a triple paned window. The idea is that your house doesn't need a lot of heat because you generate the heat, you hold it. Summer heat stays out. HERS is another acronym I'm not going to be able to spit out. But it involves a consultant. They do crunching, they do testing after construction. So they give you a lot of variety, but people are finding that some are easier, harder to figure out if you meet it. And this is what people are learning about, figuring out. Another thing we have to think about on how the stretch code applies to you is new construction versus existing construction. And within existing, alterations, additions, and change of use. The attitude that I have an existing building, I don't apply is not the case. It's what are you doing? There's a lot of questions that have to be asked. And then from those questions, then there's different rules and things for people to look at. Yep.
Just for the HERS is the home energy rating system. So it's a standardized rating system, and your rater will give your building a score based on its performance. And that's where the lower the score, the more efficient the building is, essentially.
So Myra, this is another location that says the residential is already in effect. So I'm going to think it's me misunderstanding, and also I'm still running 2022 in my so often meeting minutes. So it's just me getting the years confused. So resi's in effect, commercial in July. But you'll see that even though the residential code is in effect, you actually have another year plus for some of the parts of the code to kick in.
Correct.
So they're giving folks some time to plan for it. Massachusetts often takes other, national codes, and then we say, well, we want to do things differently for whatever reason, which is why things take a while for us to have them apply. So I have a list of them, but they impact how it applies to alterations, additions, envelope requirements, efficiencies, energy recovery systems, solar readiness, and I know this is interest to many people here, is the EV charging infrastructure requirement. So there's rules about how much infrastructure, what kind of infrastructure, where is the infrastructure, applies to different building types. The opt-in stretch. So with the opt-in specialized, it's bringing you into passive house levels or net zero. And from there, there's different compliance. So, the other I showed had 5 compliance methods. Now you're down to 3: targeted performance, using the passive house rules directly in those particular HERS rules. Net zero, wired for all electric. You can be mixed
So-
fuel, but you have to be planned to be able to be all electric too. What's that?
Just question, is it either, is it passive house or net zero?
That's my understanding.
Okay,
Yeah, correct. And part of it depends on fuel type as well. So if you go back to that slide, so they can't be a passive house if they're picking a mixed fuel, but they could be net zero energy, because as if you pick a mixed fuel, you have to wire the home to be all electric, and that forces renewables on site. And they're within that code, the certain percentage of the roof, which I think is a pretty high percentage. I want to say it was over 70% of the roof needs to be solar.
does on-site renewable 100%?
Okay, that's a net zero building.
Yeah, isn't this
So-
isn't this slide about net zero?
Yes, but you can be
Yes, but
all
those are-
electric. The compliance
Yeah.
can be an all electric, and that's not necessarily on-site electric, on-site generation.
Yeah, so those are the three pathways. So you could be a all electric home, you could be a net zero home, or you could be a mixed fuel home.
Got it.
And if you say I want a mixed fuel, which is essentially saying I want a fossil fuel, you have to, as part of the code pathway, to be compliant, you have to wire the home to be future all electric, so that your service, your panel, has to do, for heat pumps or stoves, all of that has to be wired and done. And you also have to install, like, it's not ready, you have to have renewable. You could potentially put wind, but yeah, most of it's going to be solar, for all intents and purposes.
There was in this presentation, there was quite a bit of discussion on concerns about, all of a sudden a lot of demand on the grid, and what does that mean? And can you have a little bit more mixed and ready, and then so you slowly transition, and the people were questioning, why would you pay for two systems only to then lose one, but based on wherever your product is, there could be a reason, but it was an interesting discussion.
Yeah, I think that the premise was right. So if you do decide, they want you to go electric to start, right? But they're not taking the fossil fuel off the table. If you do opt for the fossil fuel, you do have to make the home ready to be all electric, and you have to install the renewable.
So I want to put this up on the screen just so folks in their fun time want to be looking at it. So DOER has issued their technical guidance. They're using the meeting I went to and others to get little comments back on them. And they anticipate issuing addendas, I guess, to it as, people start to vet it and ask a few more questions on how it applies. I think that it was the Teddy discussion that people wondered how they got to the standard in terms of how another project would replicate it. But I'm learning still a lot about it.
Myra, do you have a comment?
I have a totally different, so my question is, I know our building inspector is great. And is really up on green communities and is really up on, but is it our role to check in with him or them, that department, and just see, because they're gonna be our enforcement? And
So that was actually asked of the DOER, asking what they're doing to inform the inspectors who are the ones that need to enforce it. They have offered training. through the regional groups. They've actually either offer scholarships or just flat out free to begin with. He did not say that there's any way to mandate anyone attending it, but I believe inspectors have obligations to take some continuing ed, but it may be in their choice of what arena. So when a rules goes into effect, like in lots of professions, it's your duty to stay up on the times of what's, what you need to enforce.
Right, I just don't know whether we as the ESC just want to because that is within our purview of sort of what we do in the town. And I mean, it's, I don't know what to say, but I just feel like even having a conversation with him to say, we know that there's a big change here. Is there, do you have any questions? Can we, I don't know, just something about, can we partner with them at all just to make sure that our town is enforcing it or checking in, or I don't know what the answer is, but.
Yeah, I mean, considering, maybe they don't know we're a green community and we fall under that category now, that slide that you showed.
Well, I mean, our building inspector, when we were doing green communities, was an advocate. I mean, I think he, I assume, I don't know, but
Myra, maybe, and as a suggestion, maybe we ask if the building inspector might come on, an upcoming meeting and just, review what him and his office is doing around this, and give a forum for us to ask questions.
yeah, I also think maybe some, general public education, especially to the extent that it applies to renovations. But also sort of new construction. I think it's an opportunity. I'm looking at you, Tiana, even though you can't see me. I think we could, it's a change, and people, it's complex to understand, but I feel like we can also say, look, being a green community has some good benefits, and here's an improvement from our state too.
Well, and if we're expecting to try to have folks vote to do the specialized opt-in, am I saying that right?
Yep.
I imagine there'll need to be some significant education there on why that's a good idea for the town.
Right, that sounds like I'm reading Robin say maybe we don't want to be third to do that.
Purely my opinion, but thank
Well,
you, Watertown and Brookline for jumping out, but you're kind of a guinea pig in my mind, and let's see how it works out. Not to say that's going to fail, but just to understand how to have examples of successful projects that go through it, I think would help from advocating, if we want to advocate for it, to say that development continued, their energy uses is lowered. It's just so new. I'm hesitant to say, to put my weight on saying we should be community number 3. Since the stretch code is brand new to us this year to begin with, and we don't know, with all the development in town, making sure that they, they meet what we have already, that there's going to be a lot of, the new stretch code really does change things as opposed to the last stretch code. The base code was getting really close to the stretch code, so it didn't feel special really. And this does raise it, there's a big jump.
Robin, would you mind sharing that with either the entire committee or myself?
Yep. I was going to share the abbreviated, but I was wondering if you wanted the full one, Tom.
If you want to send both, that at least to me, that'd be great.
You can nerd out on it.
Tom, to your point on the building inspector, I think having a conversation in one of these meetings where we just talk about what's the impacts that they're anticipating in town from the stretch code. What's their thought on the, just a beginning conversation, just as a way to educate us all, and then sort of just add some reality to it around our community.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it would be great to have, him here to, educate us on the process, how they look at this, do enforcement, and obviously within the lens of the stretch code that we're interested in, but even the base code, because the new base code, when it gets promulgated, has energy efficiency stuff, EV stuff in it coming. So that's different.
And then I guess I would love to hear from him what questions the public have from there's, how both the implementation, but just, what is the planning of people for a project with it. SMA, just so you guys know, the designer of the high school stays well informed of this and saw it coming. So I'm sure that the high school is already, has incorporated these things. And if there's nuances, they're on top of it. So
Robin, do you know, and this actually came up in my board meeting last night, was when is in the process of planning are things enforced? I thought it was at the time the building permit was pulled, that's the, whatever code set is in play at that point in time when the permit is pulled. But there was some debate back and forth was, well, it's kind of late in the process when the building permit gets pulled. And if, in this case where things have changed, just for example, loading, electrical load for number of parking spots could be, was significantly different in December than it is now and so a building that's just about to pull a permit, they've already done all of that work. They know what they need to size for loading because they're pulling the permit to do the building they've already designed. So I don't know if you have insight on that.
it is why the commercial doesn't start till July, because someone decided that 6 months is enough time to amend anything you need to if you weren't paying attention to what's coming. Building codes sometimes have no big changes and not a big deal. Sometimes it could be significant, and if you aren't paying attention, it could cause you a problem. Inspectors have the authority to issue variances. So if there's a compelling argument saying that we thought we were submitting December 31st, something happened, now it's January 2nd, can we be considered under the previous rules? That those are discussions that they have they can listen to. But it's my I've never read the legislation. I plan for the date of the building permit. Some people do whenever it's when you start permitting, which would include zoning, Concom, anyone else you see. That's one way to interpret it. If you need to go that route, you make sure everyone's on board with it, because it's kind of risky if you think that and then it takes you to a building permit, the rules change and you need to plan ahead. I can't give anyone suggestions, but
Okay, yeah, that was just I like I said, I was under the impression it was at the time the permit was pulled was this kind of the regulating authority or delineation of what set of codes that you would be subject to.
always encourage to talk to your local authority. But Myra, I like your suggestion of if we could have a communication with the building inspector and see. And if he doesn't know about trainings for him, then we can offer that as some information.
Robin, do you want to take that on since you're the expert?
I can. I've never met the person, but my last building permit was with the last person, so I don't know him, but I can reach out.
Robin, I'd liaise with Julie. I think she knows the inspector well.
Okay.
Or well enough.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you for letting me jump the line.
Yep. Next, well, first the list was waste reduction subcommittee. So we have been going along with our food rescue and composting programs at Walton and Greenwood schools. Just some numbers for you guys. At Walton in the first month, we composted about 600 pounds of food and we rescued about 730 food items. In Greenwood, the first couple weeks, we composted about 480 pounds of food and we rescued about 650 food items. So it's significant numbers already in the first couple months. So we are trying to do these programs at other schools. The bigger elementary schools have been a bit more difficult. But we are trying to move forward any way that we can with those schools. We are also working on a recycling bylaw that we're hoping to put forward in the next town meeting for multifamily buildings that currently don't have recycling. So Tiana's been researching examples from other towns, and we're going to be working with Anne on, putting together something that can have some sort of enforcement, some sort of teeth to, make this happen because lots of residents who came to our recycling event commented on this, and so. That is a big thing that we're working on in the next couple of months. Anything else, Tiana?
I would just say, like, as a footnote on the multifamily thing, recyclable items for the most part are banned. There's a waste ban, right? Like we have the waste ban just recently on textiles, but a whole slew of recyclable materials are banned from the trash. But the multifamily buildings aren't giving people any way to dispose of them in an appropriate way. So something's got to change. It's just blatantly disregarding that waste ban. So we're gonna figure something out. We're fired up about it.
And how is the recycling event?
We'll get to that in the community education section.
My bad.
It was great.
It was great.
It was great.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for us. Land protection.
As far as I can tell, there are absolutely no interesting land use or protection issues going on in the town whatsoever. So, no, I took plenty of time with the Vogue school letter. Thank you. And actually, our subcommittee did not meet since the last meeting because it was a short month, and we agreed to meet next week. So, nothing further to report.
Okay. Robin already went. Dan is not here. Chris, you want to talk about greenhouse gas inventory?
Yeah, so we met since the last meeting, I believe it was, Melissa, and pretty much have, pretty close to basically a first draft of the greenhouse gas emissions inventory using the MAPC tool. We've sort of gone through all the different various, scope 1 and scope 2 categories of emissions. So our goal would be to have something to share with this committee in the March meeting. So Melissa and I are actually meeting next week, and then we may do one more before the next full committee meeting to just kind of share findings, talk about some things we learned along the way, and also maybe just have some discussion on what we want to do with this information. And then maybe set up some ways to kind of keep tracking this moving forward. But yeah, it's been a pretty interesting process, and we'll have some things to kind of go over hopefully at the next meeting.
And I'll say apologies every time you guys have scheduled one. I have been unavailable.
No problem. We can keep you on the list if you want.
It comes in, I'm like, oh, I already have something there.
We thought you were interested, Tom, but
I am like, you have an uncanny knack of like scheduling a meeting when I have a work event or some other obligation that I have to go to.
well, we can change the meeting, schedule if you really want to join.
I'll keep that in mind.
I've been fairly last minute with the scheduling too, so I'll try to give some more heads up for the next one, which I think is next week actually. But yeah, hope to see you there.
All right.
Julie is not here for Green Communities, community education.
So we had a great recycling event last week. It was at the library and we had approximately 50 people. I was worried at 6:59 that we were gonna have to like lock the door and turn people away. We had a completely full house, which was very exciting. So something in our various outreach methods is working. So that was very cool. The audience was very engaged, asked lots of questions. Gretchen was very engaging, presented some similar stuff to what she'd given us, but you know, in some more depth and lots of examples. I think everyone walked away with at least a few things that they're going to start doing a little bit differently. We raffled off, we gave away a door prize, which was a fresh new recycle barrel, which was very enthusiastically received by its recipient. And yeah, so it was great. I took away some follow-up things, either that we should communicate more about sort of how to recycle particular things in the area, or other you know, waste reduction stuff that we should help promote. And Gretchen did suggest that if we want, we could do a field trip to the recycling facility and see it. So I think we're going to set that up because people looked real excited in the room when she mentioned that. So might have a field trip. Maybe wait till it gets a little bit warmer because I suspect it's pretty cold in there. So yeah,
Some of the schools used to do that in 4th grade, I think.
really. Oh,
They haven't done it since COVID. It hasn't come back yet, but there used to be a field trip, and I've heard it was very well received among students.
oh yeah, absolutely.
We should try to involve the Galvin students in that.
Yeah, that'd be great. So yeah, so we're gonna think about what topic we should do a next education session on. I think the library was a great host. WCAT recorded it, so we'll get a recording at some point and share it around. They're gonna put it on the Community Access Goes Everywhere channel. So if you have ideas for topics for education, we would definitely love to hear them. It sounds like new building code requirements might be an interesting one, although we might need to get a little bit further along so that the folks educating us have all the answers and can explain and give good examples. But I think that would be a really interesting one for sure.
Yeah, to find a colleague who would speak better than I.
I think examples are going to be what's, you know, oh, if they're building like this one over here that is under construction, here's what, you know, needs to be done. Yeah, so we'll look to do another of those at some point soon. Otherwise, general outreach stuff. We discovered that there are not 2 but 4 community Facebook groups for the town, and the 2 that I have been posting to are the less attended of them, less populous of them. So we're going to reframe our posting strategies a little bit at our next meeting. And the email list is up and running. Hopefully you all received a couple of emails from Sean through that avenue over the past month. So we now have the ability to email blast all of our fans as well.
It's coming from the ESC email.
Oh, okay. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think the only topics that were emailed were about the recycling event. So I think that's it. John, anything else?
No, I think that's it. I think some of those might have come from me, but anything that I did send from my account was sent, CC'd the ESC email, but yes, but they should all come from the ESC email. So, and the important thing with all that too is that everything, yeah, the ESC email be there so that it's all available for recording purposes.
All right, thank you. Next, go to the member groups. William, do you have anything you want to add? Tell us about?
Nothing much. I believe the recycling club for the high school is about to start a can drive, but other than that, nothing new.
And are you working on getting the recycling back at the high school, or?
Yeah, we're trying to. We're working on trying to regulate some of what's coming through a bit more.
Yeah, okay. Eileen, do you have anything to share?
I don't have anything to share that's new other than, obviously the vote happened a couple of weeks ago for the new high school. And we appreciate the support from the ESC, and we are excited. Onward to the vote, the big vote, the big townwide vote. So another hurdle, but we feel pretty good about where we're at. So.
Okay, thanks. Anne.
There we go. Sorry, a little battery trouble. We're in the midst of our spring rain barrel sale. We've sold 49 rain barrels so far. We still have a good month to go. The pickup is on April 6th. We have 28 compost bins, starter kits left for Black Earth. We'll revisit that. The spring's always a great time. Subscriptions go down in the winter. So we're staying steady at about 418, I think, the last time I looked. But I expect us to rise back up because we have been adding probably 2 a week for the last maybe 6 weeks. So it's a good sign. I'm in the midst of finishing the RDP survey. It's due February 15th. And by doing that, that allows us to apply for grants in April, May, when they get them out.
What's RDP? Sorry, Ann.
It's a program run by the DEP, and you get points for each thing you do, and then you build points and you can get grant money. So this year we got $15,400. Hope to increase that next year. So one of the criteria to do it is that Mr. Mayo has to send out a buy recycle letter, which he sent to all the department heads, telling the employees to buy recycled paper, don't buy things that can't be recycled, blah, blah, in the letter. So they all got that this week.
Great. Thank you. Julie is not here. Last up is Tom.
Just 2 quick updates. Last night, we did approve a new EV rate. I think I touched upon it last. We had the public meeting. So that rate is approved. It is just another option that folks have for EV charging. It is a time of use rate, so on peak, off peak. And the program probably start to see it roll out in the May timeframe, so that we saw the rate's been approved, but it has to be filed with the DPU, and then us getting collateral around that program and starting that. And then the second thing also added into our connected homes is now a behind the meter battery rebate program. So you can install a battery at your home. There's a rebate for that, and on I think it's a per kWh that the rebate is, and then through the connected homes, the utility will dispatch your battery during peak grid times. The battery can be used for backup, or in combination with a renewable as well. So that program is up and live and is administered through the connected homes. Go ahead, Robin.
So is that like a Tesla home battery? Is that?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Tesla is not one. So there's 2 batteries. Sonnen and Generac are the 2 batteries that are part of the connected homes system. Unfortunately, Teslas, but they would love to get Tesla in there. Tesla is proving difficult to work with, believe it or not. I will save my opinions for a non-recorded meeting.
So is this like a shave the peak at a home level?
Yes, correct. So the
Okay.
battery, you can install a battery whether or not you have renewables or not, right? You can install a battery for a whole home backup system. So, if you were considering to put, say, a diesel or natural gas backup generator in your house, you could put a battery backup system as well, and then get paid when we have a peak event. So if there's a peak event, a credit would be issued to your bill when that happens. And then, for folks that have solar, the battery can be used for load shifting, right? So it's less financially advantageous to sell your power back to the utility. So by having that battery, you could run the battery overnight while your home can be running off the battery, and maximizing your solar use as well from a financial standpoint. That makes sense.
Would this feels especially relevant today? Would it enable you to use the battery in the case of a power outage, or is it still not?
Yes, so it operate very similar to a backup generator that you would have. So as part of that installation of the battery, that battery would be on a transfer switch. So if grid power goes down, that transfer switch opens your circuit as a safety precaution, so you don't backfeed to the grid, and runs your home. So it is take natural gas or oil, diesel generator and replace with battery. And we're starting to see these things, right? The F-150 has that capability as well as part of the truck. So you can power your home, and it's just basically a battery on wheels, versus these are batteries that don't have wheels.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Do you know if there's any installations in town?
There are quite a few. I do know quite a few Powerwall installations, which are Teslas. They're trying to get them into the program. Essentially, Tesla wants the entity here, which is the connected homes. In order for connected homes to interface with those batteries, they have to sell so many batteries. So they essentially are requiring them to become a reseller, and be instead of just allowing. So it's a pretty steep financial commitment to put those into the program, whereas these other companies, they're just happy that they're to be part of something else, from a sales perspective, like if they're part of this program. So maybe someone might decide to buy a Generac versus a Tesla because they can participate in this program.
Anything
But I
else?
would say most of the batteries out there are Tesla batteries. That was all I had, unless there was any questions.
I was wondering if I can add one additional school update that I just heard.
Yeah.
So I did hear that there was some talk on the community call that the superintendent does Thursday afternoons. There was some conversation with Dustin, who is the head of the food services. Like he said, partnering with you all on sort of expanding the composting to the other schools. And then also really active work and getting the styrofoam out of the schools, and sort of a plan to do it, and sort of feeling great about the trays. He's apparently the cutlery right now is the bigger challenge, but that the really positive progress on styrofoam, which is great.
Yeah, no, I did notice that they are shifting to like this paper fiber tray. Still trying to understand whether it can be composted. I guess the product is looking to get recertified for BPI certification, which is what Black Earth requires for compostable products. So hopefully that'll happen.
Still better than styrofoam though.
We just got to get to the reusables at some point.
Yes. But I know that's at least from the schools, it's been something that sort of, I think is something, I think that the food services director, as I understand it, is really on board. And so I think has been a real ally, as I understand it. I haven't met him yet, but he's also buying, for example, some local produce and bringing in sort of more local foods. The lunch menus now list Walden local meats, for example, when they're able to source locally, and that's really a priority of his. And so, again, I don't know if I don't think he's been to talk to ESC. It might be another one to put on the list of people to talk to, or I know you all collaborate with him, but
Yeah.
very
So
cool.
I've talked to him. I've been working with Cheyenne, and so we've talked to him several times and been emailing with him. And yeah, he's been really collaborative, and yeah, it's been good.
And William also too, I feel like with the students, I don't know if you've met him yet, Dustin, but I'm sure he'd be happy to talk with you and think about some of the stuff you're working on at the high school.
Okay.
And I want to put a plug in for the master plan survey out. So, part 3 or 4, I don't know, Myra, but
It is the last one. It's the
Yeah.
fourth one. It's on economic development and town facilities or town services too. And so that's why I had to miss the recycling event, because it was the in-person of the workshop of master planning also. But yeah, this one is I think, and it touches on, I think, some of the things we've talked about, including some green space and some trails, as well as sort of the other resources that we have in town. So yes, that's always welcome.
All right. So our next meeting is scheduled for March 9th. Does anybody have issues with that date as of now? All right. Any other matters unanticipated? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion second, whatever you need.
All right.
On the right screen, you want.
Robin,
yes.
Chris,
Yeah, Robin.
Tayana,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Myra,
Yes.
Ann.
Yes.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Have a great night.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.